Good day, everyone. My name is Timmy Tokwe. I'll be taking the course on mole today in chemistry. And before I talk about mole, the purpose of this lecture is for you to be able to share this to those people in correctional service and those people in rural area where there's no good teachers or good person to take them. So please do share it, and if you like my lecture, I will appreciate your thumbs up. Thank you. Then let's roll. The mole, the one mole of a substance is the amount containing as many elementary entities as the number of atoms, exactly 12 grams. Why 12 grams of carbon? It's 12 grams of carbon because we are using carbon as a standard. Now, aluminum is 27. So if we are using aluminum, we call that one the standard. But this time around, we are using carbon 12 as the standard. Then 1 mole of the element is relative atomic mass of that substance. Now, for the molar mass of any substance is the mass of 1 mole of that substance expressed in gram per mole. So molar mass is always gram per mole. If we don't use the word molar mass, we use the word relative molecular mass for molecule, and we use relative atomic mass for elements. Take for example, look at these formulas here. Number of mole is mass of a substance divided by relative molecular mass. If it's a compound, take for example, calcium triisocarbonate 4 is a compound, CaCO3. Then you can say mass of the compound divided by the relative molecular mass. What are the relative molecular mass of calcium triisocarbonate 4? We are talking about calcium is an element, carbon is an element, oxygen is an element. Add their relative atomic masses together, you find the relative molecular what? Mass. Then if it's an element, a single element like sulfur, you call it relative atomic mass. And if it's a compound also, you can call the word molar mass. And if it's also a molecule like sulfur 4 oxide, you say relative molecular what? Mass. Also, if I look at number of mole, it's number of particles. Particles are everywhere, but we are looking at particles like atoms in an element. Remember, atoms made an element. It's a combination of the atoms that is in an element, or we are talking about ions or molecules in like sulfur 4 oxide or nitrogen 4 oxide. Then divided by the Avogadro's constant. This one is constant. You always give me the figure 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. And when you have this, then you'll be able to solve any question that needs to work with mole or molar mass or mass. Now from here, we are going to look at different questions set from UTME and YX, and then we'll be able to solve it and know how to solve this kind of question. Glad to know that you are still there. And look at the questions that are relating to moles and their molar mass. Now, number one, we say how many moles are there in 4.8 grams of ozone? Remember, ozone is a molecule, and with the formula O3. Then the number two, what is the molar mass of a substance if 0.4 mole of the substance has a mass of this? Here you have been given the mass, you have given the mole. So what you need is to calculate your molar mass or relative molecular what? Mass. Then number three, the number of oxygen molecule present in 16 grams of gas. Remember, oxygen is diatomic, and which is a molecule, so that's be O2. Now, looking at the mass of this ozone, it's 4.8 grams. Remember, ozone is a gas with the symbol O3. And then we are going to calculate the relative molecular mass of ozone. That's 16, which is for the relative atomic mass of oxygen, times 3, which is what? 48 grams per mole. Then the mole, number of mole is what? Mass of the gas, which is the mass of ozone, divided by the relative molecular mass of ozone. So the mass of ozone is 4.8. The relative molecular mass from this 16 times 3, that's giving us 48. Dividing this, you get what? 0.1 mole. That's the short formula for mole. Just write MOL. So from the question, what is the molar mass of a substance if 0.4 mole of the substance has a mass of 25 grams? So the mass of the substance can be a compound like CaCO3, any issue. No issue on that. 25 grams. The mole, number of mole is what? 0.4 mole. So what we are looking for is the molar mass. So molar mass is X. So you just say mole is equal to mass of the substance all over molar mass. Remember, you are given the mass, and the mass is 25.0 gram, and then we are looking for X, and the mole is already given as 0.4. So we is equal to 25 all over X. Make X the subject of formula. Make X the subject of formula. So that will be X is equal to 25 divided by 0.4, which will give us 2.5. The number of oxygen molecule present, so the mass of oxygen molecule is 16.02 gram. This symbol for oxygen as a molecule, and the relative molecular mass of oxygen is 16 times 2. Now remember, relative atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So you multiply it by these two to have 32 gram per mole. So if you are to calculate the number of oxygen molecule, remember this question is having mass, is having molar mass, and is also having Avogadro's number constant. So that means you are looking for the number of particles, which we call the molecules. So you use the formula called mass of oxygen molecule all over molar mass or relative molecular mass, which is the number of molecules all over Avogadro's constant. That's Avogadro's constant formula. So Avogadro's constant number. So your mass is 16 gram all over 32, which is equal to X all over 6.02 times 10 over 23. Make X the subject of formula, which is equal to 6.02 times 10 over 23 times you cross multiply, but you make it subject of formula, times 16 all over what? 32. So 16 here 1, 16 here 2. Okay, so 2 here 3, 2 here 0, 2 here 1. So at the end you have 3.01 times 10 to the power 23 molecules.